Psychology says family isn't always where safety lives. For some people, the hardest decision they'll ever make is choosing themselves over blood. Research shows that approximately 18% of Americans report being estranged from at least one family member. That's nearly 1 in 5 people walking around carrying the weight of an invisible severance. And yet, society still asks the same question. Why would you abandon your own family? Here's what they don't understand. You don't wake up one morning and decide to cut off the people who raised you. This isn't impulsive. This isn't about a single argument over Thanksgiving dinner. Psychologists call this decision the culmination of 1,000 small betrayals that your nervous system has been cataloging since childhood. Your brain doesn't store trauma as a story. It stores it as a threat response. Every time your mother dismissed your feelings, your amygdala took notes. Every time your father's anger filled the room, your body learned that home meant danger. The child you were didn't have the vocabulary to say, "This is emotional abuse," but your nervous system knew, and it kept score. Neuroscience reveals something critical about family estrangement. When you grow up in a dysfunctional family system, your brain develops what researchers call a fawn response. You learn to read microexpressions. You become hyper-vigilant to mood shifts. You sacrifice your own needs to keep the peace. This isn't love. This is survival mode masquerading as closeness. The breaking point isn't dramatic. It's quiet. It happens when you finally realize that the relationship costs more than it gives. Psychology identifies this as the moment when your prefrontal cortex overrides your childhood conditioning. Your logical brain finally catches up to what your body has been screaming for years. This person hurts you, and you don't have to keep letting them. But here's where it gets complicated. Society has scripts for grief. We know how to support someone whose parent died. We send flowers. We offer condolences. But when you choose to leave a living parent, the world doesn't know what to do with you. Research on ambiguous loss shows that estrangement creates a unique form of grief. You're mourning someone who's still alive. You're mourning the parent you needed but never had. And the guilt is crushing. Psychologists call this moral injury. You've been conditioned since birth to believe that family is sacred, that blood is thicker than water, that a good person doesn't give up on their parents. So when you finally set that boundary, your brain interprets it as a moral failing. Even though intellectually you know you made the right choice, emotionally you feel like a monster. Your family won't make it easier. Toxic family systems operate on what therapists call enmeshment. There are no healthy boundaries. Everyone's emotions bleed into everyone else's. So when you try to create distance, the system panics. They'll call you selfish. They'll weaponize your siblings. They'll tell extended family that you've changed, that you've become cold, because in their minds, your autonomy is an act of aggression. Here's what neuroscience knows about this dynamic. When you set a boundary with a narcissistic or emotionally immature parent, their brain experiences it as abandonment, not because you're actually abandoning them, but because they never developed the psychological infrastructure to see you as a separate person. You were always an extension of them, so your independence feels like betrayal. The phone calls will come, late at night, on your birthday, on holidays. Each one is a test. Each one reactivates that old neural pathway that says you owe them your presence. Psychology calls this intermittent reinforcement. It's the same mechanism that keeps people hooked on slot machines. Just enough hope to keep you reaching back, just enough cruelty to remind you why you left. And then there's the societal pressure. Strangers will tell you that life is short, that you'll regret it when they're gone, that everyone's parents mess up sometimes. What they don't understand is that messing up and systematic emotional abuse are not the same thing. Research on complex PTSD shows that chronic childhood emotional neglect creates the same brain changes as physical abuse. Your trauma is real, even if there are no visible scars. Therapists who specialize in family estrangement identify a common pattern.
Most people who cut contact don't do it out of anger. They do it out of exhaustion. You didn't leave because you hate them. You left because staying was killing you. Your depression wasn't clinical, it was situational, and the situation was them. Here's the part that nobody tells you. Going no contact doesn't fix everything overnight. Psychology shows that the first year is the hardest. Your body is withdrawing from a lifetime of stress hormones. Your cortisol levels are finally dropping, but your nervous system doesn't trust the quiet yet. You'll have panic attacks about normal things. You'll over-apologize in new relationships. You'll flinch at kindness because your baseline for love was conditional. But something else happens too. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, you start to remember who you were before you learned to shrink. You start to notice that your jaw isn't clenched anymore, that you sleep through the night, that you can make plans with that constant background hum of dread. Neuroscientists call this post-traumatic growth. Your brain is finally getting the chance to rewire itself in safety. The choice to estrange isn't about revenge. Research consistently shows that most people who cut contact would reconcile under one condition: a genuine acknowledgement of harm. Not a non-apology, not a "I'm sorry you felt that way," but a real reckoning with the pain they caused. And here's the tragedy. Most toxic parents will never give you that, because acknowledging your pain would require them to face their own shame, and they've spent a lifetime building walls to avoid that confrontation. So you have to grieve twice, once for the parent you never had, and once for the reconciliation that will never come. Psychology calls this disenfranchised grief. Your loss isn't socially recognized. There's no funeral, no closure, just the quiet, ongoing work of building a life without the people who were supposed to be your foundation. But here's what you need to know. Your absence is not cruelty. It's self-preservation. And the fact that you feel guilty about it doesn't mean you're wrong. It means you have a conscience. It means you care deeply. And that's exactly why you had to leave. Because people with consciences can't survive in systems built on denial. You don't owe anyone access to you, not even the people who gave you life, especially not the people who spent that life convincing you that your pain didn't matter. Research on intergenerational trauma shows that the cycle only breaks when someone is brave enough to stop passing it forward. That person is you. And one day, maybe years from now, you'll be sitting in your own space, surrounded by people who see you clearly, and you'll realize something. The family you chose is the one that actually feels like home. Because home isn't where you came from, it's where you're finally safe enough to stop running.